All right. Good evening slash good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Lebogang Madise. I'm an account technology strategist at Microsoft. And with me, I've got my colleagues. I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. But welcome to the Let's Learn .NET Live Africa edition.
Great. Nice to have you here with us, Lebo. And my name is Japhlet Nwamu. I'm a .NET Cloud Advocate based off Nigeria. And it's great to be here with you. Over to you, Someleze.
Yeah, thanks, Japhlet. So my name is Someleze Diko, and I'm a data cloud advocate at Microsoft, and I am based in Durban, South Africa. So I'll be in the chat, interacting with you if you have any questions, and just sharing with the presenters today between Japhlet and Lebogang. So make sure that you put in your questions around this session on the chat, and then you'll get your answers shortly.
Awesome. Thank you. So, team, everyone who's joining from all over the world, please let us know where you're joining us from by commenting in the chat. Welcome. Today's topic is one of my favorites, GitHub Copilot. And I promise you, it's not going to be death by PowerPoint, but to ensure that we have a structure, we've put together an agenda just so it can help us with the flow. We're going to have two approaches to today's live. One is GitHub in the IDE, and the other one is GitHub Codespaces. But the main trend throughout the session is Copilot. So I'll be using GitHub Copilot from within my favorite IDE, which is Visual Studio. However, I'll also show you the capability in Visual Studio Code. And my friend Japhlet will be showing you the power of Copilot in Codespaces by having you join him in creating a mini game. So, cool. So, if you don't already know, you might be asking yourself, what is GitHub Copilot? Simply put, it's an AI-powered tool to help assist developers in writing code efficiently. I'm gonna go a little bit off script and say that it's the AI that every developer should have, and the reason why I say this is that it's beautifully integrated into your favorite IDE. So meaning you don't have to leave where you write your code to have the power of AI help you. You can do everything from within your IDE. And that's what I'll be showing you next. And you might be wondering, hey, is Copilot for me if I'm a senior developer, or is it only for juniors? And I'm here to tell you it's suitable for both. So whether you have 5+ years experience of dev behind your back, or you're an early in career software developer, there's a Copilot feature that is suitable for you. And one example I actually want to start off with is senior engineers who are maybe transitioning roles. It could be internal to your organization, or maybe you are joining a new company. So it doesn't matter how many years of experience you have, landing familiar to land like onboarding sometimes takes a lot of time. And the promise that GitHub team is giving you with Copilot is that it can save you about 80% of your onboarding experience. So imagine you're presented with a piece of code that someone else before you worked on, and you need to familiarize yourself with it before you can start contributing. I'll show you how you can use Copilot Chat to do that, and how you can also use Copilot to maybe familiarize yourself with some of the syntaxes that might be used that you might not be familiar with. And what I like with Copilot is that it actually adapts to your style of development. So the more you use it, the better the experience it will be for you. If you're a junior engineer, one thing I also love about Copilot is that it can help you understand programming concepts. I know in school you learn about concepts such as polymorphism, different types of of data structures and so forth, when to use which one and when. You can, within your IDE, also ask Copilot Chat to explain it to you. Or maybe if you want to use a design pattern that you've learned about from within your IDE, you can also ask Copilot Chat to help you with that. So just to summarize, with Copilot, you can convert comments into code. It can help autofill repetitive code. And another thing I saw while preparing for this session is in instances where it references public code, it actually fires up like a window, a pop-up window to tell you that, hey, it's referencing public code for the specific recommendation that it's given you, so that you can actually see the source for that, right? And it can show you alternatives. Maybe you don't like what it suggests the first time around. You can look at alternatives, or maybe even help it by inserting some of your own prompts just to guide it as to what exactly it is that you are looking for. And then you might be wondering, is all of this for free? And the answer is yes. So recently, the GitHub team introduced a free tier of Copilot, meaning everyone, whether you're using Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code, you have access to Copilot free. All you need is a GitHub account. So whether it's a work account or a private account, you have access to Copilot free. It has all the features of Copilot Pro, except there are some limitations. So if you want to just find out what the differences are, you can have a look at the website and it will tell you the comparisons. But at least I would say there's definitely no barrier to entry to getting started with GitHub Copilot today. You can do it from either within your browser or within your favorite IDE. You'll see there's an option there to turn it on and activate it, and I will show you how. And for those of you who want to use it for work, one of the most popular editions is Copilot for Business. The price that you see here is on a per user license. And then we also have an enterprise version, which obviously has more features than Copilot for Business. So you are more than welcome to reach out to the team to find out which one is best for you and your organization. Over here is just an indication to show that Copilot is available on all your favorite platforms. So whether you love Visual Studio like me, or you're a Visual Studio Code person like Japhlet, or you use JetBrains or NeoVim, Copilot is available for you. So without any further ado, I'd like you to navigate to this link over here. That is where we have all the slides, including the slides we're not going to present, available for you to review, as well as the code repository for what we're going to share with you today, including the game that you will be co-developing with Japhlet. So I'm quickly going to switch to my IDE. So I've got two open at the same time. I will start off with Visual Studio Code, just to show you where to find the extension, right? Okay, so over here, oops. Okay, so over here, I've got Visual Studio Code open. It's a fresh installation, so it's the best one to show you where to find everything. So if you just go to extensions, right? I'm just gonna erase everything. You will see here, it already shows you what I have installed, but let's pretend you've got none of this installed and you wanna start using GitHub Copilot. So you just write there in the chat, GitHub, and then it will show you a couple of extensions that are available in the marketplace. What I need you to look out for is the publisher. So if the publisher is verified, by GitHub. It means GitHub is the publisher for that extension. And as you can see here, there's GitHub Copilot and there's GitHub Copilot Chat. You can install so that you can start using them. There's also GitHub Codespaces. Japhlet will touch on that later on. So if you click on GitHub Copilot, if you have it installed already, you'll have an opportunity to enable it or disable it. But if you're installing it for the first time, you will have a button here saying install. You install it, and then you'll be prompted to log in with your GitHub account, and then boom, you are ready to get started. So I'm gonna close this, and I'm also gonna close this. But then I recommend you have a look at some of these walkthrough things that they have for you. And then before I switch over to Visual Studio, I just want to use this fresh installation of VS Code to just show you a few things, right? So over here is where I logged into my Copilot account by logging into GitHub. So you just click on this people or face thing and log into your account, and then you'll be able to activate Copilot. And then over here, this button here represents Copilot. So when you see it, it means you have Copilot extension installed, and mine is actually active right now. Another thing I want to also show you is if you click on Open Chat, it will actually fire up this window over here. So maybe by default, it will be closed. So you just click here and it will open the chat window for you. I have not started anything. I have not created any program, nothing, but I still have access to chat. So I want to show you something. With Copilot Chat, you can actually use natural language to ask it anything and it will explain stuff to you. But there are a few things I want to just walk you through in terms of the interface so that you can have a look. First of all, let me try and magnify what you're seeing here. I'm just going to turn the magnifier on briefly. Okay, so over here, by default, you'll see the model that Copilot, GitHub Copilot and Copilot Chat uses is 4.0. However, the GitHub team has really expanded the availability of models so that you can use your AI model of choice in your browser, in your IDE of choice. So just by clicking here, you'll see there's a wide variety of models available to you. Wow, Gemini is a new one. The last time I checked, it was only up until Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So now you've got GPT 4.0, we've got O1 in preview, O3 mini, GPT 4.5 in preview, Gemini 2.0 Flash, Claude from 3.5 to 3.7, Sonnet Thinking. So that is really amazing. And we will share in the chat also the roadmap so that it's publicly published so that you can see when is your next favorite model going to be available. So this is honestly up to you. But for purposes of the demos I'll be doing today, I'll be sticking to 4.0. Another really cool thing, which is not in scope for today, but I want to show you that we now have available in VS Code is tada, agent, you know. So before then, we started off with Ask, which is the typical Ask Copilot feature that we will be using. And then there's also the edit feature for editing your code and so forth. But the agent one is really a game changer. So I'm gonna drop a link to one of the YouTube videos that was created explaining agents and how they work and how you can get started with that, because it's not in scope today, but it's really, really brilliant and it's gonna change our lives. Okay, let me I want to stop magnifier, but things are so big. I don't know. I've lost the magnifier. Oh, there. Okay, boom. All right. Okay, so I'm going to now move on to Visual Studio. So over here, I'm just going to quickly save this because I want to come back to it in terms of the demos that we're going to do. So I'm going to close this solution. Okay, cancel. I want this for later. I'm just going to say for later. .cs. Okay. All right. So we're going to create a new C# console project. And then so for purposes of this demo, I'm literally going to do a funky calculator because it's not so much about what we're building, but the features that I want to show you of how you can accelerate your development. So calculator. All right. And then, okay, so I have not done anything. This is by default what you see when you create a console application for C#, and we're just gonna run it. The only thing you're gonna see is hello world, but we just wanna make sure everything works as it should. So I'm gonna click run. And why is it not greeting? Boom. Okay. Hello world. Everything is working. We are happy. It's a .NET 8 application. So I'm going to close that. We are very happy. So now we know that this application is not about greeting the world. It's a funky application. But before I get started with coding, I'm first going to do my checks. Remember, I showed you what the Copilot icon looks like. As you can see over here, it has a green check mark, which means it's active. And if I click over here, I have an option to also open the chat window, and it shows me fresh out of the box some of the features that are available for me. I honestly like this interface in Visual Studio. In my opinion, it's better. So it shows you that you can summarize your code, write unit tests, fix your code, as well as explain programming concepts, which I spoke to. And however, in Visual Studio, remember, stuff comes fastly available in VS Code than it is in Visual Studio. So in Visual Studio, the models that are available to you are only for O1, O3 Mini, 3.7, and 3.5. So 3.7 thinking is not available yet, as well as Gemini is not available yet in Visual Studio. But in VS Code, as you saw, it is, and I'll show you again. Okay, so it'll be interesting to find out when the additional models will be made available here. And then you can also attach stuff, which is great. So let's say you've got a designer in your team that has done wireframes for an app that you want to build. You can actually attach it here and start the code from the image. It will definitely do that. And then we also have another feature here that will show suggested prompts. I won't go into that because Japhlet is going to cover the prompting stuff. But in the meantime, let us just kick off with our funky calculator. So I'm going to give it context. Oops, almost spilled my water. Okay, I'm going to give it context by writing a comment. Say, this is a funky calculator program And then you'll see I've stopped typing. And then I'm just going to reduce the size of this window. And already Copilot is starting to suggest a couple of things. So it says, this is a funky calculator program, and it's suggesting that performs various operations. If I want to accept the suggestion, I can press the tab key on my keyboard, but I'm not, this is not how I talk. So I'm not going to say it performs various operations. I'm actually going to continue typing. So I'm going to say this is a funky calculator program that takes in input from the user and performs basic arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction. So I like this new suggestion from Copilot, you know. So I'm gonna accept it by pressing the tab key on my keyboard. And then all I did was press the enter key on my keyboard, and it continues to suggest a couple of other things. So other operations that I'd like my funky calculator to be able to do is multiplication and division. And it also handles invalid inputs, which is great. Error handling is great. And then it provides a simple user interface for interaction. Happy. So now, as you can see, it has stopped commenting, and it's now prompting me to actually start with developing my program by including the first library using system. So I'm going to accept that as well. And then it's going to start adding a whole lot of other things. But then I don't want to add things that I'm not even sure if I'm going to use. So for now, I think I'm just happy with these two, right? So I'm going to say console.writeLine. So all I did was literally type 3 letters, CON, and it already prompts me, it already suggests that I want to do a console.writeLine statement. And it says here, welcome to the Funky Calculator app. Because we've got manners, we greet people with our apps. So I accept that recommendation. And then it says, please enter your expression, example 2 plus 2. That is not what I want, right? Instead, I want the user to first add, enter their first number, right? So I'm gonna help Copilot and say prompt user for input. And then I'm gonna say console. I don't like the suggestion. So I'm gonna say console.writeLine. And then please enter the first number. By the way, I haven't even declared where it is I'm gonna store this first number that I'm requesting from the user. So it's doing that for me. So let's see how much I can get done without typing anymore. Okay. So now it did the first thing there, and then I'm gonna just I don't know if vibe coding is a thing I can say here, but I'm literally gonna vibe code and see how far we're gonna get, and then we will refactor the code afterwards. I'm just accepting stuff, right? And then we'll review the whole thing. First, we'll check if it runs and works as expected, and then review the code. This is getting interesting. We're now even creating a dictionary for operations. Why? I don't want a dictionary. Let's use a switch statement. I think it's stuck. Let's help it out. Okay, so I just want to review the code. I'm going to reduce it a little bit to 125% just so we can see what's going on. So over here, we're welcoming the users shop. And then we're prompting the user for the first number. We read it, and then we pass it to a double. And if we are not able to do that, it means it's an invalid input, and then we prompt the user to enter a valid input. And then here we read in the second number, do the same thing. And then after reading the two numbers, over here it says console.writeLine, please enter the operation. And then over here it reads in the operation from the user. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna go with this flow and see something. So here it's creating a dictionary to store the operations. So I want you to see this piece. So it says here, it found similar code in public repos. And then that matches this code that we have. And you can actually click on here to say view code matches or more info. So for now, I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to continue vibing. And then I'm going to check if the operation is valid. And then perform the actual operation. And then display the result. And then now it's asking if we want to perform another calculation, yes or no. And that's the end of the program. So I'm going to save this, and now we're going to test if it works, and then clear this mess up because it is a bit messy. All right, no, let's, okay. Okay, so it's calling a main method, which I didn't even create, right? So funny thing, and I want to show you using Copilot. So the latest editions of C# actually allow you to write a whole lot of code and run it and have the IDE create the main code for you in the background without even seeing it here. So I want to show you by actually asking Copilot chat here, because we're going to use this to debug, right? So maybe before I even go to Copilot chat, I'm actually going to go to where the error is, and then I'm going to right click and say, ask Copilot, help me refactor my code so it's all defined inside a main method. Okay, it's usually really fast, but while it's thinking, let me use this pane to ask something else. Okay, wait. So over here, I'm gonna just close. I'm gonna reduce this size quickly. So over here, I want to show you something. So it has declared it created the whole program, as you can see, and and now added everything inside of a main method, which will help when we get to the part where we were calling the main method so that everything can work out fine. I don't even think we're calling it anymore. You see over here in line 66, we were calling the main method to restart the program. Let's see. Okay, before replacing, my only concern, just check. This is from line 61. One thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if it's a bug or something, but it essentially will try and insert the code where my cursor was, right? So remember at line 61, that's where I asked the query, and if I accept, I bet you it might not do what I say it's gonna do, but I think it will. Then I might just need to clean it up, but that's what's gonna happen. So I've accepted it. So you see, all of this honestly is stuff that I should remove. Okay, and then I'm gonna save. And I think I broke it. Let me undo quickly. Yeah, this is the part I want to delete. Save. Okay. Delete that part and that part. Okay, so now let's build it again. Okay, so it works. It says, welcome to the funky calculator. Please enter the first number. I'm going to choose 5. Please enter the second number. I'm going to choose 8. And then it wants us to choose an operation. So I'm going to choose a valid operation the first time around. So I'm going to choose multiplication. And it says the result of 5 times 8 is 40, which is true. And now it's asking if I want to perform another calculation. I'm going to type yes in caps. So see, it did the whole lowercase thing that I saw in the actual code. And then now I'm going to do 6 plus 3, which is 9. And now I don't want to play anymore. So I'm going to say no. And it says, thank you for using Funky Calculator. Goodbye. However, this is honestly a lot cleaner than the program that I had earlier. And I want to show it to you so that when we do refactoring, we can also refactor this because so that it's easier for people to follow, right? This is honestly cleaner than the original code I had. And I want to try and undo to see if we'll see it. Yeah. See, this is the original code and it looked really messy. You know, it had stuff everywhere. We were checking for valid inputs straight after declarations, which is not pretty. No one wants to see that. Everybody wants separation of concerns so that it's neater and cleaner. So I want to close this solution and show you another one that I had earlier, which is called Simple Calculator. Okay, so this is the messy version, right? And what I did with Copilot Chat, I was like, oh my gosh, check this code out. Let me first show it to you because you haven't seen this yet, right? So it does the same operations as the other code, as the funky calculator, but this one only does it once. So let me show you. I'm gonna run it. So welcome to Simple Calculator. Enter the
Lebo, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you, Diko. So I was saying it runs once, can only do one operation, but the code itself is very messy, right? It works, yes, but no one wants to maintain this. So you can actually use Copilot Chat to say, hey, okay, I'm gonna be nice. Hey, Copilot, please help me refactor my code so it's easier to maintain and extend operations. Okay, it's done. So there are a couple of things I want you to pay attention to, right? One, Copilot has given me the refactored code, but I like the fact that at the bottom it actually explains what it did as key improvements. So let me see if I can zoom into this. Yes, I can. So over here, one of the key improvements it did was using a dictionary for operations. So if you see my original code for the Simple Calculator app uses a switch statement to do operations for addition, subtraction, and multiplication. And in the refactored code, it's actually introducing a dictionary, right? And then it tells me that with a dictionary, if you operators using the corresponding function, it makes it easier to add new operators like modulo and exponents without modifying the actual core logic, which is great. Error handling, division by zero is explicitly handled in the perform calculation. So in my original code, I did not have the perform calculation method. So we'll have a look at it in the refactored code. And it also does separation of concerns. So over here, it also does invalid input validation that by handling it in a get number and get operator method. So instead of doing it messy after each declaration, like how I have it here. And then extensibility, adding a new operation is as simple as adding a new entry to the operations dictionary. And readability, the new refactored code is modular, each method having only a single responsibility, making it easier to read and maintain. So the refactored version should be more maintainable and extensible. And now we're going to look at the actual code. So over here, we have an option to preview it. So I'm going to click preview, and then it's going to show me what it will look like in my editor. I can see it here. I also have an option, so I'm going to cancel. I also have an option of inserting it in a new file, which is what I prefer. So I'm going to click insert in a new file. And as you can see here, it's created a new program.cs file with the entire code, which is much, much cleaner. And we are going to go through it quickly. Over here, it welcomes everyone. And then it prompts for the numbers. in a much cleaner way. And then it has a try so that it can handle the inputs that it will get, and do the actual operation. And then here it's exception handling. And then here it thanks you for using the calculator. And then this is the method where it actually does the validation of whether you inserted a valid number or not, and here whether you inserted a valid operation or not. And the actual operation is now done in the perform calculation method. And then we also have a dictionary for storing all of our operations, meaning like they said, I could now extend this to include modulo. So C mod, which is a like this, or power. So I'm going to accept all of that. So now our calculator is even more powerful because not only can it do simple arithmetic, but it can also do modulo and exponents. Okay. If I don't want it, I can just undo, but I do, which is cool. Oops. Okay, so I'm gonna take all of this and copy and replace all of this messy code that we have here. But one thing I noticed that we don't have in this new refactored code. Oh yeah, sorry, I almost confused it with my funky calculator. So I'm gonna erase all of this and paste this in. So I can get rid of this and then run it again. Oops, let's see what's wrong. Oh, it didn't finish this. Something's not right here. Am I missing something? Because each time I try and accept this, I think it wants me to have like a double brackets for this, and I don't know why. Because then, this is so weird. Oh, I know what I'm missing. I'm actually missing a curly bracket. I'm not even missing. Okay, so that should work. But why is this grayed out? Okay, let's build it again and see. Okay, so it built with no errors, but there's a couple of warnings, but let's test it out anyway. Please enter the first number, second number. Okay, let's test the power thing that I'm worried about. Please enter the first number, 2, second number. So I didn't update my operators, but we know this operator exists. So it will still work. So the result of 2 to the power of 2 is 4. So it works. Okay. It's just weird that it's grayed out here, but I at least noticed that the error was I was missing this curly bracket. So this is fine. It's neater and it works, which is great. And we are happy. Another thing which I wanted to show you, Let me just go back to my slides in case I forgot. Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to show you is some of the commands that we have. Like if you do / explain, it can explain how the selected code works. So let me actually navigate back. Like for example, this isn't syntax. If you're not a regular C# developer, especially if you stopped developing in C# before C#8 was released, you might not know this Lambda syntax. So I'm gonna just right click, ask Copilot, and say explain. So just by saying /, it gives me some of the commands that are available, the / commands. So I'm gonna say explain and click. See, now it does the code explanation. So I'm gonna let it continue. But yeah, that's all I had to share. So you see over here it says the selected code snippet is part of the operations dictionary, which maps mathematical operators as strings to their corresponding operations as lambda expressions. So as you can see here, and then it explains properly like the purpose. This dictionary is used to associate a string representation of an operator, example plus minus, with a function that performs the corresponding operation on two numbers A and B. It uses a key value pairing, and then here it goes on to explain that each lambda expression takes two parameters A and B and results and returns the result of the operation. So A plus B will add A and B, etc. So this is really cool. This is really cool, honestly. I didn't even have to leave my environment. I didn't go and log into another website just to find out what this piece of code means. I could do it right here from within my IDE. And what I like is even if you don't remember how to open up Copilot chat, you can just right click and do the explanation here and then click away and close and then it's gone, you know? But yeah, so clicking here, you can open the chat window and then it's a tab. It's a second tab here. Another thing was I had a funny moment, but I will allow Japhlet to continue first before sharing later. I think we'll share it in the tips and tricks. But if you're wondering when to use Copilot and when to use Copilot Chat, I would say use Copilot for direct code writing like we did. It offers a seamless IDE integration as you saw with VS Code and Visual Studio. And yeah, it's really brilliant. And Copilot Chat is amazing for in-depth assistance, learning and teaching, as well as collaborative scenarios. So I hope you found value in what I had to share, and I will leave you with some GitHub Copilot wisdom. So every Copilot needs a captain. So this tool is not here to replace you. You are still very important. But if you don't know where you're going, you'll definitely end up someplace else. And yeah, I'm going to hand over to my good friend Japhlet, who's going to get you started with GitHub Codespaces and help you build a game using Copilot.
Great. Thank you
Over
very
to
much,
you.
Lebo. And thank you so much for telling us that GitHub Copilot is not going to steal our jobs. That's a little relieving. And also, thank you for showing us some of the cool things that we can do with GitHub Copilot. I think something I actually loved from your session level was the fact that we could do everything with GitHub Copilot without having to go out to our search engine and probably search, hey, I'm having this error. How do I go about it? You can do everything without leaving your preferred ID. Before going on, I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of people who are in the comments, and I can see Brett. Thank you for joining from Canada. I can see Eloy joining from Zimbabwe. I can see Carlton joining from the USA. And I can also see Lalit, Indiaj, joining from India. Okay, I think Lalit is the name, joining from India, and I can see Dice Script joining from Brazil, as well as Rifat Aid. Thank you for joining this session, and to every other person who's joining behind the scene. And yes, if you have questions, please do also, let us know what your questions are. I'll be sure to respond it. And for all of the things that we've spoken about, one key question that might be on your mind is, how do we go on? How do we get started using this? But also, how does this work? So let's get started first by talking about a great part of GitHub, which is GitHub Codespaces. And what GitHub Codespaces enables you to do is gives you the ability to spin up an environment within your browser. So instead of you having to go out to your preferred ID, probably to Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio or anywhere else, you can get started using it within your browser. You can code, you can build your code, you can test, you can debug, you can deploy, you can do all of those things you would do with your IDE just within your browser. Another thing it does for you is you have the opportunity to simplify your workflow. So you have all of your dependencies, you can quickly install your extensions, and you can even utilize your keys, which is an interesting part of GitHub. We're not going to talk about it, but yes, you can have your GitHub keys that you can utilize. And then you can also extend this into, utilizing Visual Studio extensions, as I had earlier mentioned. Now let's go over to the parts to understand a little bit into how GitHub Copilot, how this solution works. And it uses something called prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is a very critical part of how AI tools like GitHub Copilot are able to respond to tasks that will tell them, they are able to respond to things we tell them to do. But here's the thing, for them to be able to understand what to do, we have to ensure that we're telling them the specific tasks they are to carry out in a way that they can understand. And that's what it's all about. So ensure that while you're giving your co-pilot telling you what to do, you're ensuring that it's effective, it contains details, and I'll be walking you through how to make sure you are doing this. It's important for us to use prompt engineering because it helps us to actually utilize the capabilities that we have within Copilot. It helps us to avoid repeating things over time, just telling it, do this, do this. It already understands what we're telling it to do because we have told it what it needs to do. And then because we have included in prompt, it's easy for it to understand how it can help us better, right? It's easy to understand what our code is all about or what our code should be about. And then when we need to go back to it and say, help me out with these changes, it goes on to do that better. When we give it multiple prompts, it helps it understand better. So a lot of times, just the same way we have conversation with humans, they might not understand what we mean at first, but when we refine it, we'll make it lots better. It makes it easy for them to understand and then respond to us. And then it's also easy with prompts for Copilot, GitHub Copilot, or our AI tools to understand the context of what we're talking about and what we intend to accomplish. Now, there's the benefit of utilizing prompts in your development environment, because when you use prompts over and over again, what happens is it gets more conversant with it. You could have it in front of a markdown, and what that will do is it goes over and pick those prompts that have been included there and can go on to use it for whatever activity or whatever task you need it to get done. But we need to understand clearly the different types of prompts and how we can generate great prompts. Now, there are three techniques that can help us to understand how prompting works, and they're encapsulated in these three types. First, the zero shot prompting, your one shot prompting, and your few shot prompting. What happens with zero shot prompting is you just tell you what to do, but you don't give it an example. For one shot prompting, you are giving it just one example, and then for few shot prompting, you are giving it multiple examples. Now, this is what we mean. So, for example, you can see that the prompter or the pilot of this solution has told GitHub Copilot, can you write me unit tests for all the operations in my calculator.json file? And what GitHub Copilot has done, as you can see, is come up with the code because it understands the task. But we can take this a step further by giving an example. So for example, we're saying, write me unit test for all of the operations in my calculator.js file. Use the following example, and then we're giving an example. Because we have used an example, it's able to guide the AI's responses. It's able to actually give it some context into what we are working on. And the same goes on for the two shot programming. So we're giving it two examples or more examples to be able to give us better prompts. Now let's talk a little bit about how this entire thing works. First, we have provided it an example, and then moving on, that example is giving direction or telling the GitHub Copilot what exactly to get done, right? And so it's great to input, your examples there because it gives some context into what you need to work on. What it does is we also need to mention in our prompts that if we need to format our responses in a specific way, we have to include it there and tell it, hey, can you format it in this way? Can you probably make it into an HTML file? Can you make it into a list? Can you make it into a function? But it gives some precedence into how the response we need from GitHub Copilot should be. And then we also need to go ahead and evaluate the quality of the responses that has been submitted. So we need to always, this is where we need to refine our prompts, ensure that the program or the solution we're building is actually reliable and that it works. So if something is not working, we can go over and say, hey, can you help change this? Can you help make this better? And it ensures that it just reiterates the entire solution, the entire code that it has sent over to you to ensure that it aligns. And then there is the piece of training prompts, which actually evaluates the sophistication of tasks Copilot can assist with. And so it gives us the ability to integrate multiple AI responses to even help us to accomplish our goals, right? So with all of these different pieces, it makes it possible for us to grow a long way to have great prompts. And I forgot to mention for our output verbosity, what that does is we can also tell our copilots to make the length of our program to a specific length, the output. So probably as we've seen from Lebo's example, she had a code she didn't like and she said, oh, can you make changes to it? Can you make this much better? Can you make it, lots more understandable for me, right? And that's very possible with prompts. So don't forget the key lesson from this. When we are working with AI tools, especially tools like GitHub Copilot, it's important for us to use the right prompts, tell it the right thing to do, give it context, if possible, give it examples, because that way it's easy for it to understand and come back to us with something that we love. And hey, don't be frustrated when your AI tool doesn't give you the right response. Keep refining, keep reiterating, change your words, and it could give you exactly what you want. Let's go over a little and talk about some of the cool things that you might want to take note of, the tips and tricks that can help you utilize Copilot more. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's actually possible for you to enable non-programming meta files within your solution. In this example, and I'm going to show you when I go over to Codespaces, I think I should probably show you that now. And let me just head over to Codespaces. And over here, just as an example, I have Codespaces here, GitHub Copilot, sorry. I have Codespaces spinned up already. I'll show you how to do that. But over here, I have GitHub Copilot. And to be able to enable non-programming meta files, I'm going to go over to my settings. This is GitHub Copilot already installed as an extension. And then click on settings. And over here, I can edit how I want my GitHub Copilot to look. So I'll come over to edit in settings.json, which I already have open. And then I can come over and impute my code, right? This code over here, which you would find in the learning resource. And what this would do is style your Copilot, make it more interesting. It enables it to work with non-programming source code files like your SQL. In this case, we're using our meta files. You could have your Markdown files, your YAM files, your YAML files, and that's how you can integrate it, right? So take note of this feature and be sure to check it out if you need to adjust something to make it more specific for you, to make it more interesting for you. The next thing you can also do is unit testing. So a lot of times while building a solution, you need to really understand, hey, does this work? How do I apply these in different scenarios? Can you help me do that? Can you help me show its practicality in real world scenario, in real world use cases? And so what Copilot Chat would do for you is with a prompt like, can you help me generate 3 unit testing methods for different possible case scenarios for all functions in the specific file that we have attached? It will go over, and as you can see, it has the test cases. It goes over and tells you how it can be utilized, right? That's also something exciting that you can do with Copilot Chat. Another thing you can do is what Lebo had pretty much showed you. You asking Copilot Chat to get started with a project. So for the previous examples, they already had a project running. Previous examples we have seen in this presentation, they had their project running, they already had their files created, but I don't know how to create this. I don't know how to start from scratch. So I can tell Copilot Chat, can you help me to start this project from scratch, as we're going to see, and it goes over to help us create it. That way, you can focus on making sure that the entire program works, right? And just focusing on other things that you need to focus on. Something else is what Lebo had already showed us. And to start off utilizing Copilot Chat, GitHub Copilot Chat, all you can do is just include your slash, and then you have a couple of prompts that you can get started to use. Now, in some cases, you might have multiple tabs in your IDE, and you just want to connect them together. You want it to pick things from one tab and use in another tab. That's the ability of neighboring tabs. And with GitHub Copilot Chat, it makes it possible. Something else is the role prompting. And what this does is you can give Copilot a role, right? And say, hey, I want you to be this person and I want you to generate this specific code for me like this person. So, for example, the prompt that we'll have, I want you to act as a front end developer coach. I will provide some questions and the tasks that I have to complete. I would like for you to walk me through the process before our sprint due date, right? This could involve offering advice on various topics, such as utilizing the React framework or handling API calls. My first request is to help set up my development environment. And what GitHub Copilot will do is pick this and continue utilizing it. So you have already set the stage for it, and it would give you some more tailored assistance. It will help to adjust the IDE or the tool to your specific needs and ensure that the prompts it's providing you are the prompts and scenarios, or sorry, the responses and scenarios that it is providing you are tailored to what exactly you want it to do. And then another thing you can do is asking it to give you some more context, right? So giving more context, provide more details, clarify what you need to do. Remember, nothing is too much. You can never give too much details to your Copilot, your AI tool. Ensure that you are providing the right details, right? Give it what you want, tell it what you want, ensure that you're explaining clearly, ensure that you are reiterating all that needs to be done. For example, you can tell it, once upon a time, there was a but you need at that point to give some context. So you could say, okay, there was a dragon, there was a stuff, there was a this, there was a princess, there was a robot. So in the same way, you give it some more context so it gets to understand. Something else to also take note of is utilizing the step-by-step approach. And what this basically means is trying to break down your tasks just to create some clarity. Now, it's going to the Copilot snippet that we have on our screen. What basically is happening here is that it's organizing our coding efforts and ensuring that all of the complexities that has to do with this project, that it's properly managing them. So ensure that you are providing the right details, you are breaking down your task, you are giving this step by step, you are making sure that you are clear, and you're not just providing lots of details, right? So instead of overwhelming it with lots of details, you can just start bit by bit. Okay, so I've shared enough tips and basically walked you through some of the things that can help you or help you make GitHub Copilot more productive for you. Now, let's get over to the more exciting part and actually see all of these things come to life. And I'm sure you all are excited. So let me check the comment section for a bit and see if we all are excited to move on to the next part. Great. So currently there are no questions. And what I'm going to do is head over and reshare my screen, spin up Copilot. And back here over in our slide, take note of this link, which I am going to reshare with you. So please ensure to go over to aka.ms slash let's learn slash .net slash GHCP, which stands for GitHub Copilot. And I'm going to leave this on the screen for a bit, just so you can access that. And I think Lebo is also going to help us share that on YouTube. So just in case you miss that. right? So when you get over to that link, what happens is you will be brought over to this screen, and over here you have access to this repository. I'm just going to go back a bit, and over here you should have access. Oops, this is what the repository looks like. You have different sections which would walk you through what GitHub is all about and what GitHub Copilot is really, what GitHub Copilot can help you do. It also walks you through GitHub Codespaces, which I'm going to be touching a little bit, and then how you can get started using your own GitHub Copilot with C Sharp. And you have for section 5 the mini game that we're going to be building. So what we're going to do is first see how we can spin up all of this in GitHub Codespaces. Remember, we mentioned earlier GitHub Codespaces is more of you having your IDE in your browser without going out to open up your IDE, open up Visual Studio Code. Initially, something we used to do is head over to the code section, come over to Codespaces and say, hey, can you create Codespaces for me? But there's something a little more exciting. And now, when you go over to your repository and you click the full stop sign on your keyboard, what is going to happen is it's going to automatically open up GitHub Copilot for you. So if you don't like stress or you probably like some fun stuffs, just go over to the GitHub repository, click on the full stop in your keyboard, and boom, GitHub Codespaces opens up using Visual Studio Code. But hey, let's go back and talk about our mini game. As mentioned, our mini game is the 5th folder in this section, so we're just going to dive in. And the mini game actually walks you through the things you need to get started. It's a challenge project. The challenge project leads you to another GitHub repository where we have our code, right? So be sure to open this up once you are over there and you have checked out the learn resource. Be sure to open this up. It will take you to this repository. So let's see, which should we use? Should we use the old formal method of going over to code, or we should use the fun method of using our full stop? Okay, so let's use full stop this time. And what's going to happen is voila, it's going to spin this up for us. So let's give it a try. And over here, we can see all of the different resources, our dev containers, and our game, which is a rock, paper, scissors game. But hey, for a moment, something to note, yes, before going further, is this is an empty project. We don't have anything here. And like we had mentioned, we want GitHub Copilot charts to help us. But hey, don't forget what we need to do first before actually going over to an AI tool. We have to understand what exactly we need to do and then give it a prompt. And that's prompt engineering, which we have been speaking about. We need to create a rock, paper, scissors game. And we need to understand how does it work. We know first that, and I'm just going to come over here and I have my prompt ready. So I'll just paste in my prompt here so we can see how it works. So we know that for your rock, scissors, paper game, these are the things that are happening. There are different rules, and what's going on is rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, and paper beats rock. I hope everyone can see this. Let me try and increase it, and I think this should be better. So you can see the winner of the game is determined by 3 simple rules: rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, and paper beats rock. Right? That's the logic. That's how the game works. And so we're giving this prompt, or we would give this prompt over to Copilot and say, hey, this is what the game does. Can you help us create this game using .NET? This is our prompt. So I'm going to take this out, and let's first of all install the required extensions. So you would come over here to the extension section, and if you probably like flashy things, you could probably do Control Shift X and it will spin that up for you. But hey, I've done so many flashy stuff, so probably I should do some manual things here. So here I'll come over and search for Copilot, and I have here GitHb Copilot and GitHb Copilot charts. Let's see. I can't install them, so let's go over and let's do that again. Oops, I have this running. Okay, so let me create a new one. And let's go over to the extension section, and hopefully we should be able to install this now. Go faster. Let's see. Okay, so this is still loading. So let's wait a little more for this to come up. Or setting up our remote and connection, building code space. While we're waiting for that, let's see if there are any questions in the chat. None currently, so let's give it a little moment. And yeah, we should be up in 3, 2, okay, yeah, I was slow. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we are. Great. So over here, we have our resources. Again, I mentioned this is empty. Nothing is there. No, we're giving Copilot and Copilot chat the opportunity to do that for us. So let's go back to our extension, and boom, we can install our extension. Go GitHub Copilot, get that for us. And let's hold on for a moment. Go, yep, and we're good to go. We have it open up here automatically. Note, you didn't have to sign in. Well, for when using it on your IDE, you have to sign in definitely. But because we're using Codespaces, it gives us access to it. Okay, so let's go over to our code. And what we're going to do is, open this up, right? And say, so let's open this project. Oh no. So let's make sure it's referencing this. Yeah. And say, hey, I'm going to input my prompts. Oops, I copied the comments. I want to create a mini game with .NET. It's a rock, paper, scissors game. The winner of the game is determined by 3 simple rules: rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, paper beats rock, and go. So let's see. And so what Copilot chart is basically doing is determining what we are trying to do, because we have already provided the context. Let me see. Yeah. So you can see what it's doing for us is, oh, we lost that section. But yeah, it has created that for us, and it's referencing the code generator, right? Here's a proposed directory for a structured mini game. And it created a new folder for us. Okay, so let's add that in. And what it's going to do is going to add that folder into our existing code, as you can see here. but I'm going to show you how to do that within the existing folder that we'll have. So what it has done, it has created a game logic for us, and let's check it out. And let's close this. Let me make this, I guess this is readable. So first thing is, it is a rock, scissors, paper game. And what's going on here is we're having a player. It's telling us if what player one chooses is the same as what player two chooses, then say it's a tie, right? But what if player one chooses rock, then player two should, if player two imputes scissors, then player two wins, right? And then if player one imputes, if player two imputes something else aside scissors, then player two wins, right? Don't forget our context. And then scissors, when you have paper, it means that player one wins. Else, if it imputes any other thing, maybe rock, yeah, which is the last one in within three of them, then player two wins. Right. So if I impute, let's say I'm player one for the last scenario, I impute paper, and then the computer, which is the second player, imputes rock, I win because paper beats rock. But then if I impute something else, or if the computer imputes something else, then the computer wins, right? And then if there is nothing imputed, it's going to prompt invalid choice. Please choose rock, scissors, or paper. So if I don't impute anything, good. Now that's the logic based off the prompt. Here it's going to be utilizing our model, and we would be referencing that model. So let's close this. And then we have program.cs, which kind of like walks us through, oops, what exactly is going on within this game. So it's saying, welcome to this game, enter your name, please choose your choice, either rock, scissors, or paper, or type exit to quit. And if it does, it breaks the solution. If it doesn't, it picks the prompt as included and goes over to tell us what player two, which is computer, picks. Okay, so let's see how this works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this, right click on this, okay, and I'm going to open this in our terminal down here, and I'm going to build first. Okay, so let's be sure. Oops, let's see. Yeah, open it to get a terminal. Let's close this, and good. Specify a project. What are we basing here? Okay, so we're basing our rock scissors project. So let me just copy this and paste it over here, right? This should build. Failed with 3 errors and 3 warnings. Let's see. Okay, so let's go over and ask. Let's see what our error is. So let's go over to Copilot and say, hey, Copilot. So we'll have an error and say, can you help create a project here? So let's see. And I think it has that done for us. Oops, so it created a new file, a new workspace. Okay, so let's try that. It still has the same logic, but just adding the last section. So let's close this up. It still has the same logic, but this time we have, let's see, we have our models, and we should have rock, paper, scissors .cs project. Okay, so let's open this up in the integrated terminal and try .NET build again. And hopefully it's gone for well for us. So let's run this. Oops. And I'm going to close this, close this. Okay, here we are. And okay, so let's see what our code says. Program.cs, welcome. Okay, so now we'll have a couple of errors, and it didn't complete this code for us. So let's try and move this over here, right? And we're going to replace it. And I think we still need to stick with this solution. So let's open this in integrated terminal again. And hopefully if we do .NET build, it should run successfully, failing with 3 errors. Let's see what the errors are. It's saying converting null or literal. Okay, so I think these errors are much. Let's try one last one, and let's come over here and impute our prompt over again. So let's do this all over again. We have this reference, and if this doesn't work out for us, then I'm going to show us, oops, the existing solution. So let's come over here. Oops, let's do this twice. And I should take this out. Okay, so let's see what GitHub Copilot has for us. So it's referencing another solution for us. Let's try it out. And let's see if we're missing something here. So this is rock, paper, scissors. And this is the game it has created for us. Let's see if this would run this time. So let's build. Okay, so still failing with errors for us. Now let's go over to the existing code which GitHub Copilot had earlier helped me. So this was the exact same prompt, and let me increase this. So this was the earlier prompt using the same prompt. Not sure why GitHub Copilot is rejecting those prompts, but here, as you can see, the same game logic, the same game.cs, the same model, and we have program.cs. Oops, let me open it up so you can see our program.cs. But this time, I think I see it has a different set of code for us, which was different from the other prompts that we had, right? Okay, so let's open this up in our integrated terminal again, and hopefully when we build, it has built for us, and we can run this. Great. Oops. Let's do that again. Yeah, so you can see here, let's play rock, paper, scissors. Enter your choice, 0 for rock, 1 for paper, 2 for scissors. So let's go in scissors 2, and hopefully GitHub Copilot, which is player 2, will be entering a response that will make us a winner. Right? Oops, sorry. Computer chose rock, computer wins. Now notice it's asking us, do you want to play again? And let's go over and say, well, yes, let's do this one more time. Let's do rock, and it's a tie. Rock, rock. Okay, so I need to win. I need all of us to win. So let's try it one last time. And let's see paper. It's also a tie. Okay, maybe today is not our winning day, but this is how GitHub Copilot utilizing a prompt makes it super easy for us to, without doing much, to actually build this solution. And like Lebo had showed, you can go over and refactor your code and say, hey, my code is not working. Can you help make changes to it? Can you help make it lots better? Because it's not working. And what Copilot would do is it would definitely help you make it better. Great. So let's talk a little bit more about other parts of GitHub, issues and projects. And Lebo, would you like to talk about this?
Yes, I'm happy to, Japhlet. Thank you. So while you were talking about refactoring, I was actually on my side just getting rid of the warnings that I had in my previous program, and I'm happy to share that there there are now no issues in the code base. So if you'll allow me, I can just share my screen.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's AI. It's AI. It makes mistakes. So let's see what the recent corrections are.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so as you can see here, there are no issues. So what I did was previously when we were reading in the numbers, we were just doing console.readline and then without actually checking if we are maybe reading in an empty string or not, because it's very easy for someone to just press enter before even entering a number, right? So over here, that's like the only change it did. So it did it here and over there. So that's that. But I like the topic that you were now introducing to everyone else, which is issues and projects. So one thing I really love, right, that GitHub does very well is when it comes to including every member of the team, it does it in one place. So I want to show you just a snippet of a project that we have. It's one that we did via a hackathon, community hackathon. I'm not going to go into the actual details of the project, but I'm going to go to the Kanban board that is associated with the code. I hope you can still see my screen. Or you're seeing the wrong screen.
Yeah, the wrong screen. The
Yeah,
slideshow.
let me stop and reshare. Okay. Okay. So over here, I've opened up a project that I like using for demo purposes. So this project is actually linked to a code repository, but I wanted to show you that built in within GitHub is the concept of projects. So maybe if I can just go back, right, so that you can see where to go. So you can go to repositories, which is the default where everybody normally goes to, and you can go to projects, right? So I have one project here, but you can also create a new one. Maybe that is even a better idea. Let me just show you. So the reason why I'm showing this is to emphasize the fact that you don't need an additional product. You know, all of this is within GitHub. So if you have, let's say, a GitHub Enterprise license or even a free GitHub environment, you can set up projects, and this really helps for the inclusion of people like your Scrum Masters or product owners, so that they can do what they do in the same environment as your team of developers. So you can either start from scratch or you can use one of the built-in templates that the team has. So here there's one for team planning, there's one for feature releases, there's the usual Kanban style or bug tracker. So it's really up to you, or one for a roadmap. So, or for product launch or a team retrospective. So I'm going to choose a Kanban one. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to call it GitHub Copilot .NET Live Kanban. Okay, so here it has created my Kanban. By default, it has labeled my different buckets. So I've got my backlog over here, my ready state, in progress, in review, and done. What I normally like doing before even activating a Kanban for any project is defining things like what does done mean and so forth. But just to walk you through this piece, we also have an item here called priority board. So meaning all the items that are in your different buckets, you can label them according to priority. There are also some team items that you can have. It will show you who's assigned what. You can also have a roadmap that shows you the timeline of when something is due. This really helps, especially if your manager or team lead is trying to track your team's velocity on working on stuff. Anything that is in review, you can, let's say I have Japhlet as one of my team members and I need them to review something before it's approved. It can show you how you can actually tag that and assign it to the individual. But I'm going to go back to this backlog piece and click add item. So the first item I would say is, let's say, create, oops. Oh my gosh, Copilot is everywhere. Let me just click here. I'm just trying to type. So create a demo repo of simple calculator, right? And then I click enter. And then it asks me if I want to associate this with simple calculator repository. And I say yes. Or I can switch to any other repository. So I'm going to stick to that. And then it's also asking me if I want to create a blank issue or if I want to use any of the built-in templates. So I'm going to click on blank issue. And then and then over here, this is a fairly long title for my issue. So maybe I might actually want to put this as a as a as a description. So and then over here, I can just simply put create demo repo. Actually, it's better. It was better like this. Okay, create demo repo of a simple calculator console application. Start with default math operations. Extend to include mod and exponent. Show refactoring of code. So those are just instructions that I'm gonna have in the description of the issue. I'm gonna assign it to myself because there's no one else in this project. So I have no visibility of other team members. But if, let's say, I want to invite someone to this project, and I will show you now, it will have them as an option there as people that I can add. But in the meantime, I'm gonna just assign this to myself. And then it asks for labels. Is it a bug? Is it documentation? Is it duplicate? So I'm gonna mark it as a good first issue, especially for someone who's new in the team and maybe wants to contribute by doing this. I'm gonna mark it there, and then yeah, I'm happy with everything. And then I can preview what this will look like. And then I can actually fix this a little bit and click create. So as you can see here, it's created the Kanban card, but it also has a number. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. This number 1 means this is the first issue, right? Meaning if someone was to go into the simple calculator code repo and look at the issues there, they'll only see one issue, which is this one, right? And what I also like is you can drag and drop these anywhere you want, So personally, in my Kanban, I never have like a ready because I don't know what that means. I have a backlog or to do, and then I have a doing and a done, and a need help one in case there's help needed. So over here, you can also rename your actual labels. So if ready doesn't mean anything to you and your team, you can label it to do, which means something. And you can also define what to do means. And then in progress explains itself. So by moving it there, it disappears from here and it's there. So normally, if your Scrum Master comes, they want to see less to do, more in progress, but they'll definitely be happy if there's a lot in the done bucket because it means it's been done. But I want to just click on this so that you can see the details. So by clicking on the issue from within the Kanban board, it shows you the description of what is expected, and you can also have an option to do a sub issue. So remember, sometimes, like when Japhlet was doing the demo, he actually added a whole lot of other stuff. So to also manage expectations with your team lead, if a task is really big and requires you to do other things that you need to break down, it's better to show incremental progress than to report every day during your stand up that you're still busy working on something and they get frustrated because according to them, you're not getting done. So you can create sub-issues that are related to the main issue, just so even when you complete those milestones, it can also reflect to your Scrum Master or product owner. And you can add comments if maybe you need clarity on something, and they'll be able to, and tag the person, and they'll be able to help you. Okay. Another thing I want to show you is it tells you the history and timeline. So this is really good, especially if you're working with multiple people. And I want to zoom in again just to show you here that you can transfer this issue to someone else. So if this task is not meant for you and is actually being owned or worked on by another team member, you can transfer it to them. If you have really worked on this and it's closed and you don't want additional comments to take place with regards to the issue, you can lock the conversation, or you can pin the issue, or even delete it. So I'm going to show you. So here, when you close the issue, you can choose to say, hey, I'm closing it because it's done, or I'm closing it because it wasn't part of the plan. It's not even in my future plan, or I'm closing it because it's a duplicate. Okay. And then you can create a branch. So maybe you don't want to work off the main branch because by default, this issue is created on the main branch. If you don't want to be working on the main branch and you want to create a branch from the main branch where you're going to work on this issue, you can do so. And you can add milestones and add the priority and the sizing as agreed with in your team. So another thing I want to show you is over here by project settings. Nope. Here by assignees. Let me see. Okay, I can't find him. So I would need to add Someleze to the actual project before. So let me go to the settings. I'm going to move away from this view to the view that I'm normally comfortable with. But let me just try this route. Okay, yeah, project settings. I can manage access over here. So over here, I can give a description about the project, a little README, and I can manage access by inviting people. So I'm going to invite collaborators. So Someleze, what's your, oh, there, I found him. Okay, so when you invite someone, you can just use their GitHub handle, and it can be anyone, literally. But if this was in my work environment, I wouldn't be able to invite the general public, you know. So remember, this is created in my personal profile. And then I can give the person permissions. So maybe you want to add someone for reading purposes. Maybe they are an external entity that contracted you to do a piece of work. You just want them to be able to see what the team is doing and but not actually contribute anything. So you give them read permissions only. If you want them to be able to write stuff, add issues, add comments, you give them write permissions. And if you want to give them superpowers, you can make them an admin. So I'm giving Someleze the right option and I say invite. And this will send an email to him telling him that he's been invited to this project. And he'll also receive a notification from within his GitHub portal that he's been invited to this project. So Someleze, as you can see, you have been added as a collaborator. Please accept, because I want to be able to transfer some stuff to you. So now I'm going to say extend calculator, actually convert simple calculator calculator one to an abstract class. Okay, so that's a task. It honestly is very self-explanatory. And then I'm gonna assign it to Someleze. Okay, Diko, please accept. I need to add you to this. If you can hear me. So until he accepts, he won't appear here, but hopefully he will soon. But for now, I'm gonna create this to show you what it will look like when it's not assigned to anyone. So as you can see, the difference between this and that is, let me put it here so that it's easy to see. The difference is over here, you can see with a picture that this has been assigned to someone. This one has no picture, meaning it has no owner, no accountability. So best practice is if you are working on something, you want to be able to show that visibility to everyone else in the team. So you can self-assign this to yourself, or if you're a team lead and you want to assign the piece of work to someone else in your team, you can do that. I don't want to assign it to myself. Diko, can you hear me? Are you there? Or Japhlet, you can give me your
Okay, so I'm going to include that. My full name actually, yeah, the same as my tag. If you can see, it's the same as my StreamYard tag. If you can see
okay,
my
okay,
face, yeah.
okay. Which part? The part that says at or
Japhlet Wobble, just Japhlet Wobble.
oh, nice. Okay, that is cool.
You had the answers all this while.
I know, right? So let's do that. My friend, you don't have a picture. How do I know? Oh,
Yeah,
this one,
that's
right?
yeah over there.
Okay, so I've added you. Please accept on your side.
Okay. Waiting for the email.
And another thing I want to share with you, team, or everyone online, is that when you create a project, by default, it inherits the repository's visibility. So as you can see here, this project is private, meaning you all don't have access to it. But I'm able to change the visibility of this to public so that you can all see it, even though maybe I could say, hey, you are able to see it, but you can't contribute to it. So over here, if I change it to public, which I have now, it means everyone right now who's online or following me has read access to this. So you can go check it out and you'll be able to see this as well. So you will have read only rights. So Japhlet, can you confirm if you've accepted?
I can't find the email yet.
Okay, so maybe what you can also do is you can go to your GitHub profile. You should see notifications. You see over here, there's like a blue
Not
thing.
yet either.
Not yet, really?
Nothing. No, nothing over there.
Okay. I'm gonna briefly stop sharing so I can check out my notifications without sharing anything that could be sensitive. Just in case there was an issue. Nope, nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine looks clear. Let's reload.
Do you mind sharing your
Okay,
screen so that I can maybe show you in front of everyone else?
okay, sure. That's a great opportunity.
And I know we have 5 minutes left, but maybe while you do that, I quickly just wanna close off on the issue piece. So I wanna just share one last thing, and then we'll just move on to your screen. So okay, so one of the things I just wanted to finish off on is, remember I promised you that if you go to Simple Calculator, you will see all of these issues, and it always goes in chronological order. So over here it's 1, 2. Even if you close an issue, it doesn't lose its number; it retains its number. Okay. So I'm gonna just click here quickly. So it's taken me to Simple Calculator, which is private. And then over here, when we go to issues, you'll see the count for issues is 2. And then if we click on issues, it will show us the 2 issues. One, which is the create repo of a simple calculator, which we've done. This is it. And then another one is the one that is currently unassigned to anyone, and I want to assign it to Japhlet. However, I don't know if it's because the actual repo is private. So maybe let me start adding both
Yeah,
of
by
them.
admin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that could solve the issue. Excuse the pun. Okay, I hope my phone is nearby. I just need to authenticate quickly. Okay, let me use another method.
So while you're trying to input your password, maybe I can go over and you just see my
Yes.
screen. So this is currently what's being displayed. Here is the notification section, and there's currently nothing over here. But I was able to access the project using the link that's displayed on the screen. I went over to Fruitimo project, and then under GitHub Copilot .NET Live Kemba, I was able to find this empty project list, but I can't see any project assigned to me, definitely because you haven't assigned any to me, but I'm sure I will
Yeah.
be able to see what's giving me access.
No, so this is great. So now you are able to see. Oh, remember I made the project public, so everybody has read access.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But then what's interesting that I'm seeing is there's nothing in your buckets.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the project and just check out what could be the issue. I think if this is the thing we resolve now, it should be good. Okay,
And
try refreshing.
okay, so let's see. Where do you I refresh? Okay, so let me refresh my notifications again. No
This is so
notifications.
okay, cool. I haven't done anything on my side. I haven't added you yet. So let me add you to the actual project. I'm gonna share my
Okay.
screen so that everyone can see. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm back at the project and I want to add Japhlet to the project. Actually, I think we did manage access. He's got write access. Okay. And then it's such a weird thing that even though you've been added to this, you can't see the issues. Anyway, let me try and assign it to you and see. Interesting. So I'm going to try one last thing. I'm going to convert the actual, I'm going to add you to the actual repo, but still keep it
Okay.
private and see if it will solve the issue. If not, we're going to ask Copilot. Actually, let's ask Copilot. I don't want to solve this on my own. Hi, my friend who is added only to the project associated with this repo cannot see the issues. What should I do? So now I'm using Copilot within the web because I had opened this in the web. So if your friend, did you see Copilot shaking their head? So if your friend cannot see the issues in the repository, it could be due to the following reasons. Private repository. Okay, I thought as much, but let's just ask to verify. Okay, the repo is private, but the project is public. Does this affect visibility of issues in the project? Yes, this does affect the visibility of issues in the project if the repo is private. Okay, okay, great. Now we know. Thank you. Let me say thank you.
Yeah. Just to mention, you're a great prompt engineer.
Thanks. Thank you. So let me close this. What I'm gonna do is invite you to this project as a collaborator.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Okay, and then I'm also just gonna invite Someleze. Okay, so can you accept on your side? As you can see, it says pending invite because they both or whoever does it quickly needs to accept on their side. So if you can accept on your side, Japhlet, and share your screen because now you should have visibility of the project issues. And while you are doing
All
that,
done. All done. I waste no time to be invited to your project. So please.
nice. But I want to just quickly show everyone that now I would be able to actually have the ability to assign this project to you. Hopefully. Yay, now I can find you.
Yeah.
So one thing you can best be sure of is security by design. I absolutely love how it also protected me from myself. I made the project public, but because the actual repo is private, the issues in the project are not publicly available. So that is really interesting. We will make the whole thing public so that you can play around with it, add to this project, but really thank you all so much for joining us today. As you can see, Japhlet, if you don't mind, I just want you to quickly go to the top part where it says projects, yeah. And now you have visibility. That's one thing I wanted to confirm. And while you're on that screen, I'm gonna quickly assign one of these to you so that we can see it reflect live on there. And it should show, yay, that it's assigned to you. Awesome. Thank you so much. And really appreciate you all staying with us this evening. I know we went a little bit over time. I just want to leave you with one last thing. Some resources, or maybe just a last takeaway, I would say, is the fact that Copilot is, yes, one of the most widely used and adopted AI developer tools. So we hope you can start using this today to maximize your developer happiness. If there's one thing the GitHub team is really passionate about, is improving your developer experience. And one thing you'll definitely get out of this is an increase in developer productivity. If you're onboarding any teammates, it'll be a faster development onboarding time with Copilot and Copilot Chat. So go out there, build some amazing stuff. And if you want to have access to the repository that has all these slides, all the code, and the different labs, please visit aka.ms/let's learn/.net/GHCP. We've also added the URL in the comment. So thank you and have a good night. Bye.
Yeah. Bye, Lebo.
Bye, Japhlet, and bye, everyone.